Mark Burgess here with Music Marketing TV. Today we are checking out SourceLab, and we're going to be looking at how it does at drum and bass. So I whipped this track up. It's not mixed, but a lot of the elements are there, and there are moves that are mixing-ish. But I just wanted to see, can SourceLab do it? What are these sounds you get out of it? That kind of a thing. So we're going to be breaking down this track. Let's start off with the flute sound. So we start off with this Duke short. This is a bass patch. It's just one of the presets. And it sounds like this. And at the beginning, I'm just playing that patch directly. There is a Pro Q4 down the chain, giving a big boost to the side image, making it sound very wide, but more or less, that's it. And when we move over to the rise section, I bring in a Maximus, which has a low boost and a high boost. And this gives this really low end a lot of beef and meat to work with. Like, it's really, really loud, but it works really nicely with these sub calls as all these sub elements come in. Yeah, there might be some balancing left here to do. There's still a few spots where the rumble isn't quite right. Maybe reducing this a bit, but that's what's going on there. And at the end of this section, it comes in all the time. And in the drop, it plays these more high figures with these notes that go one note over and then comes down. And this sounds like... Now, this was much louder, so there is a volume cut here to rebalance it so that it's the correct loudness. Here it is in context. Yeah, so that's pretty nice. Next, we have the drones. The drones have several elements. We'll take a look here first at the chord pads. So these are the pads. If we go ahead and solo this particular sound, it sounds like this. That's it. Later on, the chords come in. Yeah. And it signals real nicely and do this sort of transition. Like a nice progression. Things get a little bit more dense, not too dense, just a little bit. So the preset for this one is Drizzy Grime Pad. And after which there is, or layered with, I should say, is this drone sound. This one's the analog drone. I can't remember where I saw it. It was in the texture category, analog drone. It's super pretty. It sounds like this. Yeah. That's all. So that's in there. And finally, there's this vocal trop that I reverbed out, and it sounds like this. It'll hit again. Yeah. So this one's the Desert 120 BPM C minor. There's a bunch in the browser. If you go to the browser and go to the vocal category, there's all these interesting chops. Now, I have a Pro Q4 high passing this and a Pro R with 100% mix. So if I get rid of those effects, this was the bass patch sound. That was it. And I didn't really care about the tempo thing because I planned to verb it out anyways and just act as an extra element. So with all three elements in play, yeah, it's nice. It's pretty. So there's two volume faders also to manage them coming in. And when it comes to volume, I don't like to automate my faders. It's not mixed yet, which is why so many of the faders are so high. But I put fruity balances at the end, and I usually just automate these because it gives me a consistent spot to look. And I don't like my fader all of a sudden being moving. And whenever I try to adjust it, it's this whole nightmare scenario trying to get control back over the fader. So I try my best not to automate the faders, even though it does look kind of cool. Up next, we have this ARP sound. It sounds like this. Yeah, now it does have effects on it as well. Let's go ahead and bypass that. And I actually am using this version in the drop because it's cleaner. There's not so much stuff. It's easier to balance with everything else. But in the intro here, I have these two little spurts where it comes in. And I really wanted it to, ring out. So I added a timeless 3 with a really high feedback and randomized taps. It almost sounds like Verb. It gives it this very ethereal quality. And I really liked that. So I went ahead and brought that in. Here's what that sounds like again. Yeah. And this is part of the, if you go into browser, the ARPS presets, Isla. In fact, I'm going to heart this one because I like it that much. And I did mess with the sequence a bit. I made the notes a little longer, and it really didn't change much how the patch sounds. But there's this sequencer tab, and that's how it plays what it plays. So I'm actually only writing a single note, and then it handles the rest. In context, it sounds like this. Yeah, so it fades out real nice. And then over in the drop, this might be a little loud. It sounds like this. So a much cleaner mix because I automate the mix off specifically of that delay. And there's also like a chord move down, which is a pretty nice sounding move. This brings us to Wub 2. Wub 2 has the preset Dude Again, and it's part of a preview into what the drop has. So the drop also has a very similar sounding wub. Yeah, that thing. And this one is like a tiny preview of what's to come. And it gets a little more clear as you go on because there's a lot of shimmer that carries over from all the stuff happening here. But as it hits again, and then there are a few moments where it's just a little bit more clear because that high end has opened up. I'm actually thinking about maybe trying to find a way to not have it be as bright here, maybe automating an EQ or something to change it. Maybe a filter to, I don't know. I'm up in the air about the first time a listener hears it, but once you get over here, you know what it is. So maybe I'll just wait to show it over here. But it's just to be a little taste of what's to come, to blend the two elements together, the drop section and the rise section. And so it's just this with the reverb. If you go over to lab, and then this again is the Dude Again preset, and then check out the reverb. And I messed with this and brought the mix way up so that it's reverbed out the way it is. And that's that sound. Up next, we have probably my favorite thing are these like low rising figures. Oh, I never named this one. Here's another one. Yeah. And they play really nicely with this layer. And then if we bring in the effects down here, a lot of the sound effects are made to go with these sounds. Yeah. So you get the idea. Those kind of vibes. The sound effects, by the way, these are them. Not a lot to talk about here. They're just like samples and things. And they're just made to accent moments that I need accented, essentially. A lot of sub is down there in that region. So let's break down these bass patches one at a time. So first off, this guy. This one is a heavily modified Arabia patch. And let's see in the browser, where was it? I just had it all. It was the first one. So I went with this one. I actually looked around for a while. I tried to find something that I could make sound pretty subby and move around. That was already a good starting point. And then in the area, I went to the lab tab specifically. I went to the filter and routing, brought down the cutoff. So it's just this really low end and drove the resonance really high up. There is a lot of, well, not a lot, but there's some heavy post processing that greatly affects the sound. So if I take that off, it sounds like this. Yeah. And critically, there is a bend. Now, on the synthesizer, to get to the bend area, you need to see the keyboard. So right now we're looking at the master envelope. If you click the modifiers over here, you'll see the keyboard, and I have a glide of nearly a full second. And I chose to just work with that instead. And so that's how the bend is doing what it's doing. And over here under this tab, this is in mono now, and that allows the bend to also do its job. So it's really important that these two settings are what they are for the bend. Alternatively, you could just automate the pitch. I wanted to write things with like notes that start and then it goes to the next note, almost like a slide note. And the pitch is like never really quite on. In fact, at the start of the song, you may want to hit the note you want to start on so you can prep it to start the same way every time, because it might have some other note that it's remembered. And then to get the movement in this low wub, we need to remove some of the high end. So we hit an EQ. Now this EQ is a monstrously weird shape. Yeah, so band 7 comes in and out, revealing essentially the low mids, because there really isn't any highs. I mean, maybe a little bit of the highs. And then this is being pushed into a Maximus. So we hit this, then this. And this Maximus has a low boost and a mid cut, giving it a really cool sound. Without the Maximus, it sounds like this. Yeah, and then bringing it in. Yeah. Now this low boost is insane. In mixing, I'll deal with that. But for now, it was what I wanted. And these notches were just picked after I knew I wanted a couple notches. I just think it sounds cool. It also makes working with the kick and stuff easier down the line anyway. So it's kind of like a double bonus. And I didn't have like exact reasons for these shapes. I was looking for an extreme shape, a weird shape. This is definitely not something you would do for a mix. It's very much a sound design EQ. But that's the sound. That's it. And so that's coming in with a few layers. So the first layer that goes well with this was actually a bit of an accident. And it's not on every patch. Like this pattern doesn't have it, but this pattern does. Some of the patterns have a sector on them. With under bass, there's this one called attack. And it just works so well if you just play part of that note just a little bit. It feeds in nicely. Yeah, could the handoff be smoother? Probably. Does it matter in the mix? Not enough to bother me to go change it. I actually think maybe the changes might help it a little bit in the mix stand out. But I could go in and try to make the handshake a little bit smoother. And there's one additional handshake down here at the bottom on this bass response. Let's take a look at that guy. And this one sounds like that. And this preset's called Blunt. I didn't really touch this one too much, and I just played it in like right away. I heard it, it fit great, and I was like, that's awesome. Let's just drop that in. That's going to be really nice. I was looking for a great while for something to fill up this spot, and I was having a hard time picking something. I was like, chords, arpeggiation, another flute. I tried all these things, and then I came across this patch, and it just fit. And when you combine that with all these subby sound effects down here that are going on, it just works out really nice. Yeah, so they work really, really well together. It's honestly an awesome combo to have. There's a few spots where, again, the subs, they overlap in a way I'm not totally happy with yet. There's a lot going on. So I'll probably remove one of the layers in those sections. But the general concept now is much more solid. It'll be a lot easier to refine this idea. And then finally, we've got the drop. So in the drop, we have the main wub sound. This was the one that actually started the whole track. And if you go to the default presets, there's one called Skrillex Starter. If you come over here and go to initialize, it's at the bottom and it's probably in the browser as well. But the initialized presets are also in this menu over here. And I just really liked how it sounded. It was great. It's a cool sound. So I ran with that and picked out that first riff. And in that riff, you'll hear this additional sound. And that is a very fast jump from a low note to a high note. If we go ahead and go over that channel, we're going from to up here. And it's just got a bend. So the actual patch that's playing that is this one. It's called Lizard, and I literally didn't touch anything. It was already on mono. It already sounded this way. The glide was already set, and I just wrote the 2 notes and was like, perfect, sounds good. I actually originally wrote a much more dense bass line, and I decided to space it out because I wrote the drop area first after I wrote this area, and the drop began to take more of its shape. But those are the 2 patches there. There is one additional layer that's being played, and I called it a layer bass here as well, which is a touch confusing. And this one's called Horror. Yeah, it's kind of a funny name. I don't remember touching it, but it's not on the browser page anymore, so I must have touched something about it. It's in the brass category, and yeah, it sounds good. I was just looking for an interesting layer to have on it to help with the mids. So that's what that is. And then there's a response here, which has a similar sound to it. This sound was added much later. That's the sound. I have messed with this sound a great deal, changing things like the filter shape, taking out certain effects, adding effects, trying out different things. I largely settled on what was already here. And then there is a Q4 with a wild looking shape, trying to make it sit nice, because with it repeating so much, it's a little distracting. But that was the rhythm I wanted, and I'm up in the air if I'll keep it or not. It's just like a rhythm thing in the background, and without it, it sounds super empty. So if you have a suggestion, I'd love to hear it. That's what I settled on. Then we have these low rumbles again that come through. These are literally the same as over here, only this time some of them are paired with a special pattern right here. And this pattern is a brass pattern called Brahms. It is right here. It sounds like this. Yeah, it's so good. I really love this brass patch. It's just the default patch in brass category if you go to Brahm, and it's playing that, and I am automating the pitch, and that's what gives it that bend at the end. And there's a second layer in here, this bass layer, and that's also playing, and it also has a bend with the pitch being automated. Yeah, and it's so awesome in context. So that works out really, really nice. And then all you have to do is toss in the arps, a little flute response, and some effects with some rises and hits where you want them. And that's pretty much what I have so far. Let me know what you think of the track down below. I'd say SourceLab is extremely capable of making drum and bass. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Subscribe and hit that bell icon for future videos, and have a blessed day.